Hey, I know, let's do an intro to radioactive decay and nuclear chemistry. But, bite-sized for physical science. Hi, so it's me, Moser. After this video, you should be able to correctly define nuclear radiation, identify the 4 types of nuclear radiation, recall what is emitted by each type of nuclear radiation, and describe what's needed to shield living things from each type of radiation. You should also be able to identify half-life as the time needed for half the atoms in a sample to decay. You should already know the 3 subatomic particles, their location, some of the basics of atoms, but we're going to review those real quick anyway. Let's go. Okay, quick review. We're going to use this very simplified image of an atom. And, there are 3 subatomic particles that we're going to talk about. Protons, which are housed in the nucleus, they have a positive charge, and they make up a lot of the mass of an atom. Neutrons, which have no charge, also housed in the nucleus of an atom, that's in the center, and make up the rest of the mass of an atom. And then electrons, which are tiny, have a negative charge, and live sort of outside the nucleus. More about that in a different video. So the nucleus is that area, again, in the center. It's dense, and it's where all of the mass of the atom is, and it's got protons and it's got neutrons. Okay, fairly simple. So atomic mass is something that we'll talk about a little bit later too, and the atomic mass, you probably remember, is the number of protons plus the number of neutrons. So for the atom that I've drawn here, my very simplified atom, it's got 3 protons, it's got 4 neutrons, giving it a total mass of 7 AMUs. AMU stands for atomic mass unit. I know, super creative. Now, you may be remembering from your introduction to the periodic table that there's some other number associated with atoms. Yeah, that's the atomic number, and the atomic number is equal to the number of protons that an atom has. In the case of my little simplified atom, the atomic number here is 3. So this is important because this is the identity of the atom. If the number of protons changes, the identity of the atoms changes. For the little sample atom that I've been doing with an atomic number of 3, we can figure out where it is on the periodic table by looking for the element with an atomic number 3. Hey, it's lithium. Okay, you got all that? Excellent. So now let's ask the big question, what you really came here for. What is nuclear radiation? Oh my gosh, this sounds dangerous. So first of all, let's clear something up, a bit of a clarification. You may have heard people talk about things like radiation from the sun, or radiation from a microwave, or radiation you receive when you get an X-ray. Those are all forms of electromagnetic radiation, and that's different from nuclear radiation, which is what we're going to talk about. Nuclear radiation has to do with the nucleus of an atom. That's why we call it nuclear. So what's the difference? Electromagnetic radiation is energy, a form of energy, that travels through space at the speed of light. You may have seen a chart like that shows the electromagnetic spectrum, everything from radio and TV waves to visible light, the light that allows you and I to see, to forms of radiation more dangerous, like X-rays and other things. That's electromagnetic radiation. Nuclear radiation is actually the particles or energy that an unstable nucleus emits or sheds or kicks out into the world. We will not be talking about electromagnetic radiation at all right now. Everything that we're going to talk about relates to nuclear radiation. So again, particles or energy released from the unstable nucleus of a radioactive atom. Sometimes those radioactive atoms are called radioisotopes. More on that later. All right, so let's talk about the 4 types of nuclear radiation. The first one we're going to talk about is alpha radiation. There is beta radiation, gamma radiation, and neutron radiation. Let's start with alpha. Since all of these forms of nuclear radiation involve the nucleus of an atom, we're going to see a lot of this, and we're going to leave off the electrons because we're not concerned with those right now. Now, the atom that I've drawn here, lithium with 3 protons, has a very small nucleus. Well, that's great, but not all atoms have a small nucleus. As a matter of fact, some atoms have a really big nucleus, and the bigger that nucleus gets, the harder it is to hold together stably. So in alpha radiation, a big, unstable nucleus sheds what we call an alpha particle. And an alpha particle is made up of 2 protons and 2 neutrons. Now, because alpha particles are, well, relatively, for subatomic particles, relatively large and relatively heavy, they don't go very far from the atom that they split off of. They kind of lose a lot of energy just in moving a short distance. Because alpha particles are so big, and because they have a charge, more on that later, shielding living tissue from them is really easy. A piece of paper will block alpha particles, or your shirt, your pants, just a piece of cloth like clothing will shield living tissue from alpha particles. Now, I said more about that charge issue later. This is later. Remember that when a charged particle passes through material, it can rip off electrons. So those charged particles sort of burn up part of their energy and slow down as they pass through living tissue while ripping electrons off of atoms. Ouch! We call that ionizing radiation. Anything that passes through tissue or materials and pulls electrons off or gives it a charge. Ionizing radiation is not good. Okay, moving on to beta radiation. So in beta radiation, a large unstable nucleus sheds a beta particle. And a beta particle is just an electron. Wait a minute, Moser. Hold on. I thought you said we were only talking about the nucleus. That's not where electrons live. You're right. It turns out that neutrons are really an electron and a proton living in this weird, secret, bonded relationship. So in the case of beta radiation, one of those neutrons breaks apart and the electron gets kicked out. So sad. So the beta particle is actually one electron that's been broken out of its weird sort of hostage situation in the nucleus. So beta particles are much lighter than alpha particles. I mean, electrons have hardly any mass whatsoever, which means they travel a lot further. The fact that beta particles are charged does mean that they ionize the atoms they hit. In other words, they tear off electrons as they travel through the material. And that does slow them down some, which is good. Shielding to protect tissue from beta radiation takes a little bit more than it did from alpha. In fact, 3 millimeters of aluminum, which still isn't very thick, or a full 10 millimeters of wood is what it takes to protect living tissue from beta radiation. Now, remember, because they're a charged particle, this is still ionizing radiation. That means it can damage tissue as it passes through it. It's not safe to be exposed to ionizing radiation in any large dose. But you want to talk about really dangerous? Let's talk about gamma radiation. So, something that is emitting gamma radiation actually gives off a gamma ray. This is not a particle. It's a very, very high energy wave. Oh. So gamma rays don't have any mass. They're, lighter than light. There is no mass there because they're not particles. They're just pure energy. And they move at the speed of light. That's really fast. So shielding for gamma rays takes a lot. To shield living tissue from gamma rays requires 60 centimeters of aluminum. That's roughly 24 inches of aluminum, or a full 7 centimeters. That's probably about 5 inches of lead, well, 3.5 inches. In other words, a whole lot of shielding. So even though they don't have any mass, because gamma rays are so high energy, they move so fast, they are very, very able to easily rip electrons from the atoms in your tissue. Oh no, more ionizing radiation. This is bad. Because of how high energy gamma radiation is, it's actually the most dangerous form of these first three to living tissue. It's very serious ionizing radiation. You don't want to mess around with this stuff. Now let's talk about the last form of radiation on our on our little agenda here, neutron radiation. So as you might expect, neutron radiation is when an unstable nucleus emits or sheds or kicks out a neutron, which is, as you know, a neutral particle. It has no charge. So neutrons are heavier than electrons, so heavier than a beta particle, but they don't waste any energy ionizing the matter they pass through because they're not charged. So they can actually go further into matter, including living tissue, further than either alpha or beta particles. What does it take to shield living tissue from neutron radiation? About 15 centimeters of lead. So for reference, a normal sheet of paper is about 20 centimeters wide. So a little bit less than the width of a normal sheet of paper, but in lead. And even though neutrons aren't charged, they do pretty serious damage to living tissue. They are known to cause cancer. Where do you get exposed to neutron radiation? This is the kind of radiation that survivors of atomic bomb blasts were exposed to. So the people who survived the atomic bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki are people who were studied for their exposure to neutron radiation. It's not a kind that you're going to commonly be exposed to on Earth, but it's incredibly dangerous. So speaking of the dangers of radiation, I mean, isn't it reasonable to ask, are these things dangerous forever? I mean, radium, it's an alpha emitter, strontium, a beta emitter, and radioactive cesium-137, which is a gamma emitter. Yikes! Enter the half-life. In other words, they're not dangerous forever, but a lot of them are really dangerous for a really long time. So here's an unstable atom, a radioactive atom, a radioisotope. The process of nuclear decay is when that nucleus breaks down and it gives off some form of radiation, usually alpha, beta, or gamma, and then it creates a daughter product, which is what's left of the atom after that bit of radiation has been emitted. Well, we can't predict when any individual atom is going to decay, but what we can measure is the time needed for half of the atoms in a sample to decay. That's the half-life. If we started off with 10 radioactive atoms of some radioisotope, after one half-life, we would have 5 radioactive atoms left and 5 daughter products and bits of radiation that were emitted. That's what happens after one half-life. Now, how long does this take? What's a half-life? Well, it varies tremendously. For radium, the half-life of radium-226 is 1,600 years. That's 1,600 years, folks. For cesium-137, it's only 30 years. There are some radioactive isotopes that have a half-life that is measured in minutes. But, you know, mileage may vary. Okay, did we manage it? Are you able to correctly define nuclear radiation as the material or energy emitted from an unstable nucleus? Can you identify the 4 types of nuclear radiation? Can you recall what's emitted by each type of nuclear radiation and describe what's needed to shield living things from each type of radiation? Can you identify the half-life as the time needed for half of a sample of atoms to decay? Okay, if so, you've got this.